What's up, nation? Today we are talking about a Nintendo Switch 2 rumor, leak, or claim, I guess you could say, that I definitely want to share my 2 cents on, because while we have seen some fairly credible information appear online about this console from people with a reputation in the gaming industry, such as Andy Robinson at VGC, Tom Phillips at Eurogamer, Nate the Hate, and many more, claiming that, yes, dev kits were shown off at Gamescom 2023. We got some really cool insight to what this system might be capable of. It's likely running DLSS. It looks like it has an 8-inch LCD screen as opposed to an OLED display. It also seems to be more in line with the power of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and then some, with some of the techniques that Nintendo is using, like DLSS technology for upscaling. And we've seen emails from Bobby Kotick and Nintendo with a document that says NG Switch. Not to mention, you have journalists like Tom Henderson saying that he's hearing that there's going to be a ton of third-party support for this console, and over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to be seeing a ton of new games revealed that have PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch 2 within the credits of those reveals. All reasons to be very excited. However, this particular one I would definitely take with much more of a grain of salt than what we would normally talk about here on the channel. I would just say that it's interesting enough, considering that the person in question that is relaying this rumor does have a history with leaking products accurately before their official reveal, and he actually ties into an account by the name of The Snitch due to being linked into their Discord server. And if you know anything about The Snitch, it's basically an account that maybe has visibility to YouTube trailers for games before they go live, because when I talk about a track record on somebody who has accurately leaked projects, The Snitch themselves have, I don't think, missed yet, and that particular account would be one to pay attention to if that's where it was coming from. But this account is actually not The Snitch, but rather somebody within the Discord server that has fed accurate information to The Snitch before. But the big asterisk with this entire story that you have to keep in mind is that this person themselves are claiming that this was a rumor that was told to them from a source that we cannot vet or confirm any kind of track record from. And some of the red flags, quote unquote, within this particular leak has me questioning its validity altogether. But I do want to have a more in-depth conversation about what we might see Nintendo do based off of some of these claims, because it does definitely create an interesting talking point when it comes to the launch timing of the system, in addition to the potential for multiple SKUs to be available on day one for purchase. As you can see, the following article typed up over on WCCF Tech, which reads, Nintendo Switch 2 to release on September 24th, 2024, with 2 models priced at and above 400, rumor. The Nintendo Switch 2 console will release in the last few months of 2024 and in 2 different models, according to a rumor circulating online. A few hours ago, Discord user Soldier Delta, who provided information and screenshots showcasing Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin a while back on the Snitch's server, revealed that the new Nintendo console, whose internal name is NG, is targeting a September 2024 release precisely on the 24th. The console, however, may be also released during November 2024, as there is apparently a placeholder for this window. Additionally, 2 models will be available at launch, a standard model that will retail for $449 and a digital-only option that will retail for $400 US. You can then see the exact post, which reads, the Switch 2 has targeted release in September 2024. However, there's also a placeholder for early November. The internal name is NG, however, we don't know about the final name. There are 2 intended models, one being standard for $449 with a digital option for $400. This is all I have for now. Now, following that original post, Soldier Delta did go back and update a couple of the details around it, I guess based off of probably the source telling them they maybe didn't word a couple things right. But you can see then the correction here, which reads, okay, small update on the Switch 2 rumor. It's a rumor that I've heard. Y'all know the drill, so there's a few clarifications with the rumors. First off is the NG codename, of which I've been told it's not a codename from Nintendo and rather seems like a codename given to developers. Small miscommunication there. Second, I was reaffirmed about the details of the SKUs. However, they mentioned that the price point is still subject to change in case anything happens. The release date was also reaffirmed with a target for the 24th of September next year, but I was also told that November fallback release date is the 3rd of November in case something goes wrong. Finally, my source reaffirmed the existence of AR features and that it doesn't seem to have an OLED screen. Okay, so let's first talk red flags with this entire thing, because there is a couple interesting talking points to unpack around the price point and potentially having multiple SKUs from Nintendo, but I am not sold on this being a legit leak at all. And the first big red flag that I have with the entire post has to do with the actual dates that they are claiming for the release of this console, because September 24th is none other than a Tuesday, middle of the week. It's not impossible for Nintendo to go ahead and launch a console then, but historically they like to launch systems on Fridays, and that really seems to be more in line with what their overall strategy would be for the Switch, not to mention the fact that it seems very early to be talking about a specific launch date. And why would you have a fallback plan of November 3rd if the 24th doesn't work for some reason? It seems like they would probably more likely be targeting a window at this point in time, but not a live date for all the retailers to be able to sell the console. And the big problem with November 3rd, even bigger than a Tuesday for a potential launch, is the fact that it's on a Sunday. And so it's like, you tell me if you think Nintendo will actually launch a system on a Sunday in any real world scenario, and I really don't think that that is going to be a possibility at all. I also think that this particular account, Soldier Delta, probably does have some kind of access to connections to get real information, but they were very clear about this being a rumor that they heard from somebody else, and it doesn't sound like they are that confident in it to begin with. So while you can't entirely write off the entire rumor or leak just because of those dates, it is definitely a massive red flag. The other thing, whenever it comes to Nintendo's strategy around potentially offering two SKUs, I feel like the price points are misaligned. I don't think that Nintendo will come out and have their physical console cost $450 US. I do think that we are likely to see a $399 price point, but I don't think that they will go to $450 for that physical edition, not to mention the fact that while Nintendo will probably one day in the far distant future go all digital with a console, it feels very early to offer a multi-SKU system in their eyes, considering that the Japanese market very much relies on physical media for Nintendo Switch games to date, as the last breakdown I saw online was roughly 70% of Japanese sales are done physically right now when it comes to Nintendo Switch content, as opposed to just 30% from the eShop. Now those numbers are drastically different in the US. I think they're more half and half or even majority digital at this point, but you have to remember that Nintendo is very much a company that will cater to the Japanese market, as they are based in Japan and they like to make their own fans happy there at a local level. And I don't really see them going that direction of splitting off all of your stock, because then you're going to go and have to create two different types of systems. Of course, we saw Sony do it with the PlayStation 5, and something kind of similar for Microsoft, even though the Series S, while it's all digital, is absolutely a downgrade in power and sold at a cheaper price point, but you are still producing two variants of the same console. And I really think that Nintendo's going to keep this thing simple with the Nintendo Switch 2 pricing and the SKUs that it's shipped out with, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me to have that physical console cost $450 US and have the digital one cost just $400. Could they do a mid-gen refresh, or maybe like a Nintendo Switch Lite device that is digital only at some point in the Switch 2's life cycle? That's definitely on the table, but I think it's less likely that they're going to kick off this upcoming generation with two different models, and that's the other big issue that I do have with this leak. I do, however, find the AR claim very interesting, because we have talked about that in a previous video. Now, Nintendo likes to have some kind of new gimmick more often than not when they launch a new console, and I very much think that this upcoming system is just going to look and feel like a Switch. So knowing Nintendo, they may want to have something that differentiates it from a visual standpoint and from a feature set standpoint, and I could absolutely see them dabbling into AR and having some kind of fun interactive games like we've seen them do with the 3DS in the past, or even the DSi, where you have these cards that you can basically have Nintendo characters pop up in your world. But I think they'll take it to a little bit further level with this next console. That is not a confirmed feature, but it is something I could hypothetically see Nintendo maybe touting up as one of the big differentiating features within this upcoming next generation Switch. And the rest of the stuff with this rumor really is more rehashed info. NG Switch is not an internal code name from the sounds of things, but rather just what Nintendo is sending out those PDF documents, like we saw go to Bobby Kotick in his email when they're hopping on calls with developers and discussing the third-party support for the console. Clearly they are referencing NG Switch, but it's not really their actual internal code name like the NX was for the original Switch. So I'm more or less writing this rumor off as more than likely fake and not an accurate one, but I do think it raised some interesting questions around the potential launch timing and price points of the upcoming Nintendo Switch and potentially multiple SKUs. I don't see it happening. I also think that maybe we could be talking about summertime, and even Eurogamer's reporting going over if Nintendo can do something sooner than the second half of 2024 and get their product inventory ramped up enough to launch it before then, that they would like to do that. And so I think that September is not an unlikely month for this console to launch, but I also don't see it being the strongest candidate. I do think that we could maybe see it launch as soon as the summertime in 2024, and maybe more of that October window if they do intend to target more of the holiday type of 2024 lineup for their next gen console in terms of launch time. But that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and opinions on all of these new Nintendo Switch 2 claims, the launch timing and the price points around them. Do you think that they are valid, and maybe this person does indeed have accurate information, or are you like me and you're really thinking that this is less likely to be true and that probably Nintendo won't muddy the waters with two different SKUs at those price points at those times for the launch date? Do you think there's any possibility whatsoever that Nintendo would launch a console on a Sunday? Because I can't see that happening, but I would love to hear your perspective on it if you think it could happen. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.